Good afternoon, everybody. Nice to see so many of you joining us live here today for our latest Ask Me Anything. I'm joined today by Jeremy, and we're going to answer the questions that have been submitted. So, just the usual reminder, if you've got anything, please add them into the comments box and we'll try and pick them up if there's anything that comes out from what we're showing you today. So we've had a number of questions in. So the first question, I think, is going to be yours, Jeremy. It's that good old AI topic that we went all out on in the last session in the What's New. So I'll leave that one for you.
Thank you, Catherine. Yeah, you're absolutely right. We ended 2024 with our What's New event talking about Copilot and AI and automation. And here we are, February 25, and it's really in the thick of it now. You know, it's all over the news. It's all over the Microsoft pages. So the question really focuses on on-premise. I've done quite a bit of research on this, looking across different forums, the Microsoft pages. And really, unfortunately for this customer, Microsoft are really heavily focusing on the SaaS platform, the cloud platform, and all of their investment in Copilot and AI will be on the SaaS platform, at least for the near future anyway. I did have a look. I did post a few questions, especially on the Yammer groups, so we'll see what does come back. But for now, we are seeing that it's just on the SaaS platform. Now, I'm not a sales guy, but perhaps this is a really great time to leverage that AI functionality by upgrading to the cloud, getting the things like the sales agent, the automatic bank reconciliation, the analysis modes, the Copilot chat might bring a lot of efficiencies to businesses by upgrading.
It's certainly Microsoft are pushing the cloud, as their number one, and that's where obviously all their development focus is. It's also, there's a lot of the Power Platform as well is only SaaS. There are some bits on premise, but you are missing out on a lot of these new technologies and efficiencies for businesses. So yeah, and we have done a significant number of upgrades. I think COVID kicked it off a little bit, people suddenly being remote from the office and realising that they perhaps weren't using all of the features in the system. And so we've done a huge number of upgrades and transitions to SaaS. So the path is pretty smooth these days, depending on how old your version of Nav or Business Central is. But yeah, it's certainly coming.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Yep. So I'm going to turn it around. I've got one for you now, Catherine.
Thank you.
Now, these questions are... They're similar, but looking at both parts of the system. So is there a plan to be able to view vendor ledger entries directly from the purchase invoice cards and the posted purchase invoice cards? And similarly on the customer side, so can we view customer ledger entries from sales invoice and posted sales invoice?
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. There's a number of ways I think that you can... Let's move you back over there. I think there's a number of ways that we can actually resolve this. And hopefully I'm answering the question that they're asking, because sometimes it's open to interpretation. So I'm going to start with purchase invoices. And if I just get to the bottom of the list and pick up one that I know I've got some balances on. So I'm just going to pick this purchase invoice. So this is an unposted purchase invoice. I've got the fact box turned on the right-hand side. And then down here, as you can see, I've got the balance. It's hyperlinked with the blue underline on it. If I click on that, that's taking me to all the open items related to that that vendor and that balance. And I've also got the facility here to do find entries. Hopefully everybody knows that takes them to that complete 360-degree view of that transaction. So we can see the purchase invoice, the number of transactions that went through to the GL, the VAT, and obviously customer, so vendor and value entries. So that's there. That's obviously the open items. If we drill in here on the three little dots and we pick the London Postmaster, and here I can go and manage their actual account and see the details of them as an account, then under related history, other and ledger entry. So a couple of clicks down, but you've now got all of the transactions, whether they be open or closed, because obviously we've got some payments here that wouldn't have appeared as open items previously. So I've just sat on the purchase invoice and navigated about. So the fact boxes do help in lots of ways to be able to get to that information, as well as the three dots. If I now do pretty much the same, the posted purchase invoice, so here's lots of purchase invoices, and when I click on one of these, again, we've got the fact box over here with the, if I go to the customer, we've got the balance here, and I can drill down onto the actual account. Then I've got the fact box with the balance, and I've got the related history options here as well. So it's only like one more layer down. I've shown you here on the purchase side of things, on the vendor side of things, but it is absolutely identical from a customer point of view. You've got the fact box on the customer card, and you've got the ability to drill down. So there's your fact box with your balance, and here's your related history, other ledger entries. So all the information is in exactly the same places. So hopefully I've answered some of those questions, how you just have to navigate to it, but it's all there.
Perfect. That looks really good. So using the fact box and that navigation there gets us to the end result. Absolutely. Awesome. Another one for you then. So question 3. So this is one of our customers who have their customers in Europe and have them on Incoterms, and they pay the import duties from the freight forwarding company. Now, this could be up to about £10,000 at a time, and they would like to know, is it possible to allocate these duty payments over the posted customer sales invoice? And they've added a bit more context here by saying they routinely assign item charges to posted purchase invoices, but not sure if it's possible to do that on a posted sales invoice.
Yeah, so I'll walk you through that, but the short answer is yes, you can. So I've created a sales invoice. I've just lost. No 4, sorry, 1104, this one. Forgot to share my screen. Right, so here's my, let's move you out of the way as well, Jeremy, sorry. I've created a sales invoice here for some stocks. I've ordered 100 pieces of MDF panel, and obviously we're then going to pay the duty, so that will be a purchase invoice to pay against this. You do have to create the shipment because it's going to pick up the shipment. It's not working against the order. So against the order here, I've got the shipment. So you can see it's shipment number 102095. Okay, so I've got my sales order, posted the shipment to ship the goods out. And now if I go to my purchase invoice, and that's that one there, just go straight to the bottom. I've raised my purchase invoice, and you're absolutely right. It's a line type of item charge. So we've normally got the line type of item, or perhaps resources, or maybe a fixed asset. But this is an item charge line. So pick the item charge line, and then you set up which particular item charges you want. You can specify them all, and they go to different accounts in the GL and so on and so forth, depending on how you need to cost these things. I'm just picking up the freight one that I've already got, and I'm just going to call it the duty. Yeah, so you may want to set one specifically up from that. And it may be that this invoice coming from the freight and duty company perhaps is covering several shipments that you've done with them, or it might just be one. So you might have a quantity of one against a cost of £100 or something of that nature. Yeah, it could be that it's covering multiple shipments or deliveries that they've actually done for you. And then we've got here underline related information and item charge assignment. So if I go in here, then basically I've got if it was on a purchasing side, I'd have get receipt lines, but because it's on a sales shipment line, I now go and find my sales shipment, which is that one there. Yeah. So here's my sales shipment. It's this particular line number 1, item number 70,000 for MDF panels, and it's got the quantity here shipped. Down here at the bottom, I've got the assignment, so I've got my £100 to assign over it. Now, if it was more than one shipment, then I could go and pull more shipment lines in. As you saw, it gave me the list of all the shipment lines that were available to me. So it could be for a different customer, whatever they've got. So you would have multiple lines on here. You can then obviously change the quantity to assign in here. So I could say there's £50 going to this line and there's £50 going to this line. Or if it's in this case, I can suggest the item charge assignment. So it's here, its remain to assign is 0. So it's actually assigned that whole £100 over that sales shipment line. And what that's actually going to do when we post the purchase invoice is to post a value item against the item 70,000, the MDF panel, to increase the cost for that particular item and that document. So very straightforward, exactly the same logic as you use item charges on the purchase ledger. You can use item charges on the sales ledger. Some people like to, if they're charging delivery charges, they want to allocate that over the cost of the item so that they get a more balanced view of profitability. So all very doable, all in there as standard. So hopefully that's answered your question.
I think it has. So in short, yes, absolutely we can do it.
Good.
I'm really sorry to ask you another one.
Oh, no, okay. That's not fair. So they're very unbalanced, this, Jeremy. I'll make sure there's some for you in a minute.
I'm sure there's a couple coming my way. So question 4, can I add a second chart of account for my customer who wants to use the local chart of accounts by default, but also an IFRS chart of accounts next to it? And there's actually a supplementary part of this question. Would you be able to provide some information about connecting 2 general ledgers for international companies?
Okay. Let me share my screen again, and let's move Jeremy out of the way. I think there's a number of elements of these 2 questions, and hopefully we're going to answer the right pieces of them. So there's 2 or 3 answers I'm going to give here just as to way we resolve these. So as standard, in Business Central, you have your standard chart of accounts with your base currency. Most people are going to be GBP in the UK for that. Obviously, net change balance and balance date, as you can see. And then what you have is a second set of currency. So this is an additional reporting currency. Again, all standard functionality. And again, you can see net change balance and balance of date. This is if you have, for example, an office in the UK and perhaps you've got a European head office or a US head office, you could have euros or dollars in my example as the reporting currency. Obviously, those transactions are just there for reporting. All the currency functionality is there as standard through the system, but it does allow you to have those 2 reporting currencies and therefore produce your trial balance in dollars for head office, etc., as you require. The other thing on the GL card that may be part of this question is about consolidation, because with consolidation, you don't have to have the same chart of accounts. You can have a consolidation chart of accounts with different accounts for debits and credits during the consolidation. So just throwing that bit in there. The other thing I think which was possibly relevant was regarding the IFRS. The IFRS have a specific chart of accounts that they want reporting in, and you may not want to work with that as your general chart of accounts that you're dealing with. So I'm going in here to something called financial reports, used to be called account schedules. I think is a fabulous piece of reporting tool off the general ledger, but it needs a bit of setup. But obviously once you've set it up, it's there and you can get your reporting. And as you can see, we've got rolling 12-month reports there, and very easy to drop in budgets and actuals and variances to make a really comprehensive report. And of course, they all go out to Excel. But what we've got here is under the definitions. If I do the row definition, as you can see, there's column definition, but the row definition is what we're kind of looking at here. You can see that we've got the facility to have either total accounts or posting accounts. And as you can see, we can do a range of posting accounts. So if your normal trading chart of accounts is a very different format than the IFRS requirements, then basically you can build the IFRS chart in here by pulling in posting accounts, or ranges. So we've got there a range 7110 ... 7130. The vertical line is the pipe symbol, which is and 7150 to 7190. So we've pulled lots of accounts from different places to consolidate onto this one line. You've also got the ability to show or not show. So if for whatever reason you needed multiple lines here, you could just say show no and then use a formula line to consolidate those lines. I believe here that you can string up to 25 elements together, so that's quite a lot. I'd be surprised if anybody needed that, but you do have that facility. So that's the way I think you could potentially get the IFRS, that's without a drink, IFRS chart of accounts out for you in a report. So hopefully that one's resolved that one. And then the last piece of the question was about intercompany. So in intercompany, obviously you set up your intercompany partners and then you have an intercompany chart of accounts. And then within the intercompany chart of accounts, you have the ability to map the charts of accounts. Obviously, in my example here, they're exactly the same. But you can see you have your entire chart of accounts on one side and then your partner chart of accounts on the other side, so that you can map them between the two. So their chart of accounts doesn't have to be identical to yours. So I hope I've done all three bits of that question.
I think so. That was fantastic. So
okay,
definitely possible using the financial reports there.
And, absolutely. They're a well hidden secret, I think. Obviously, when you're implementing a project, reporting tends to be the end of the line because you need to get live, and then suddenly at the end of the month you start panicking about reports. But they've been there for a very long time. You can use dimensions all the way through them. They go out to Excel. Really, once you've got those set up, they're fantastic. And also they do feed the charts on the role center as well in some cases. So they are incredibly powerful. So give us a shout if you need some help and training on those. Once you've got the concept, it's just the time to get them set up. So
sounds like it'd be really useful for our finance people on the call, and definitely something to look into in more detail.
Yeah, absolutely.
We did have one question, just really briefly on the Q&A, and I have answered, but we'll just run it by yourself as well.
Thank you.
It's about purchase invoice and purchase orders approval. They'd like tiers, so anything less than a certain value would just go straight out the door and done. Anything between value A, value B gets done by a certain person. Anything above that goes to the next level. Now, for me, I've said that for what I'm reading, that sounds like purchase approval workflows and setting up the tiers against those users. So I think that's achievable.
All very standard. Yeah, there's a hierarchical value ladder, and you can in the newer versions of Business Central, you can go from the bottom to the top. It's a parameter setting. Gosh, I definitely should have had a drink before this. It's a parameter setting that you either have to go up the ladder so that everybody sees what's happening, or you can go from the bottom to the top. I believe that's a new feature in a parameter setting in one of the later versions of Business Central. But yeah, all standard.
Perfect. Fantastic.
Right, so I've got a question for you now. Is there a way to know which user posted the entry? I wish I had £1 for every time we get asked this, because Microsoft have very kindly hidden that field, haven't they? So could you show us where we can find that, Jeremy, please?
Absolutely. In short, there's a great shortcut key, Control, Alt, and F1. So let's see that in practice right now. So if I just share my screen here and dive into Business Central. So if I want to see the value that someone has either posted on a sales invoice, so I'm going to come in and we're going to look at posted sales invoices. We are going to take one here, let's do the Alpine Ski House, and I'm going to say Control Alt and F1. That's going to bring up the page inspector for me. Now I know that I want to, in this specific case, I want to look at the user. Now, being it's in my demo system, it's the local user, so I can see who's created that record or made the latest amendment. And I also want to look at the date, because I think that's really important, having a look at the date and time when something was changed. So I can see here that it was created, this record was created on the 21st of January 2025 at 11:04, and it was also modified at the same time as well. So I can see that there was no amendments have been made to that particular posted invoice. But I'm able to see that if any changes were made, I've got the date and timestamp there, all automatic in the background. As soon as someone comes in and makes that change, the system will timestamp it. So that's one way. We also have the ability in the background to set up the database logging. Now, I will jump in and caveat and say, do not turn this on for every single field because the amount of data you will generate will be huge. But there is the possibility on certain tables, certain records to switch that on so you're able to track those changes that have been made to those records. I hope that's covered the question.
Yeah, I think so. It's they're well hidden fields. There is a link which I think we're going to stick on one of the slides, or we can put it in the chat in a minute, to all the shortcut keys, because you can get around the whole of the system with just the shortcut keys, which makes sometimes the data entry much quicker. But those well hidden shortcut keys would give you that information. Sometimes you feel like you're knitting, though. It's hold this one, hold this one, hold this one. Too many. You need to be an octopus. So I've just reread that question, Jeremy. It sounds like it's going up the ladder, but then it says person D would need to be authorised by person E and person F. So as long as it's going up that hierarchical value ladder, then each different person would get a different level. I just wondered if there was possibly, because it was person D, it then had to go for maybe a second level of authorisation. I don't know. As long as it's going up a value ladder, then each person will have their own level. But the way they've written that, I just wondered whether, in fact, it was saying that because it was person D, it had to be authorised by person E and then by person F. In standard functionality, there's no second tier of authorisation, and also there's no things like a product, like IT have to authorise any IT spend. So as long as it's just going from 0 to whatever the top limit is, then yeah, there's no problem. Each person has their own limit and it will move on to the next person in that, because that's the way you set it up. So yeah, I didn't want to mislead anybody with what we were saying. Okay.
Perfect.
Just while we're talking a bit technical, we get a lot of questions about the admin center, particularly now, obviously, with Business Central and the SaaS environment. It's knowing where you can go and get all this really useful information. Obviously, a lot of our larger customers have got IT people, but some of the smaller people don't. And I think it would be good if we just could show people where you can get that information, particularly with the database restrictions and sizes and things of that nature. There's quite a lot of information under that admin center. So I'll let you do the technical bit.
Perfect, thank you. So going into Business Central again, we can access the admin center through the cogwheel in the top right-hand corner. And if we scroll down to admin center, we're taken out to a new tab. So from here, I have my admin center and I can see a variety of information. So let's start from the top and work our way down. Well, firstly, probably the most important tab is our environment. Now, this shows me that I've got a production and a demo environment. Now, with each tenant, we pay for one production and up to 3 sandbox environments. And we can purchase more if we need them or if we require, but we have 1 production and 3 sandboxes, up to 3 sandboxes. So let's just take a look let's have a look at my demo environment. Now, as we drill down, I'm able to see more information about the environment, about the version it's on, the update window, which I'm able to specify. So for my business, we know that we don't process any transactions. We don't do any business between 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. the next day. So that's a perfect window for us to do the updates. You manage all of your updates through the system and you define the times when the updates will take place. So it's a really handy way of being able to manage that outside of your core business hours. We get the URL, we're able to see what country the environment's hosted in, and also to link to the Power Platform. If we have a Power Platform environment as well in the cloud, we can link that here. Being able to specify notification recipients, so having emails going out when any changes are made to environments. If they're going down, they're getting updated, any faults, reported outages, we pop your notifications in here and they'll get emails to those people and individuals. We spend more time probably looking at our inboxes in Teams than we would the admin center. So great that we can come in here and actually set that up so people get those emails straight to their inbox. A bit of telemetry. I won't go into this because it's a bit more technical than probably we need to on this call on a Wednesday afternoon, but I'm able to see all of the objects, code units, pages that have been called for a particular environment. So I've looked over the last 60 minutes. I can see if there's been any failures on my demo environment. There hasn't been any, but these are all of the pages, code units and things that have been called. So quite technical, but I'm able to look at the telemetry if I'm a developer or someone trying to understand if there was any issues with the environment. Reported outages, Microsoft will share any reported outages. Not that there are many, but if there are, they will populate them here. So if your system isn't working as you expect or things aren't working correctly, you can have a look and see if there's been any outages reported by Microsoft. From the operations side, so I can see when the environment was produced and created. I can see that they're both created this Monday, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. So you can see here that if any were deleted or created or in progress, so I'm able to keep track of all of my environments, and it will also tell me when something happened as well. And then finally, probably one of the most important pages actually is part of the admin center. And certainly a question that comes up quite a lot is, how much database size do I have left? I think, Catherine, you'd agree, we have quite a few customers saying, well, I don't really know how much database size I've got left. Where do I find out?
Yeah, it certainly is. And obviously, if when you've got 3 sandboxes, all of that affects the capacity. It's not just the production; it's the production plus the sandboxes as well. So it is something to keep your eye on, particularly with you get additional database per user. So it's 3 gig for a premium user, 2 for an essentials user, and 1 for a device. So depending on how many users you add to your 80 gigabytes, but as I say, that's across all of the databases, not just the production. So
exactly that. So you can see here with my tenant, I've only used 0.11 of a gigabyte of my 80 that I've got, so not a lot. As Catherine mentioned there, as a tenant by default, we get 80 gig. Additional for licenses, we can purchase additional capacity. So we get the totals there. I can see the quota of my environments. I've got 1 production, I've got 1 sandbox has been used. And then down the bottom, I can see how that storage is split by environment. Now mine's equal 50-50 between the demo and the production. But like Catherine said there, that 80 gigabyte is made up of all of your environments. So really importantly there, if you want to see what environments are chewing up your space. And I won't go into it today, but you can actually drill down into the list of tables, takes you back into Business Central, and you can see which tables make up that storage capacity. So if you want to clear out some tables with some maybe old data, that'll be the way that we can look at doing that with you.
There's quite a lot of information under there, isn't there? And it's not, in the scheme of things, not that technical, just to see some of those bits and bobs that we know. You did mention about the times for the updates and the notifications. If we're your GDAP sysadmin, then obviously we get notified as well. But it's always worth setting that up, because when Microsoft do updates, sometimes they break, where the extensions are, etc. So you would get the warning, and we would. The default for the UK is normally a Sunday evening about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, so that's okay. But we do have some customers with overseas tenants and databases, and so therefore it's always just worth remembering the time difference, and sometimes you do need to amend that, but as a generalization most people just let it run at the time Microsoft do it. So yeah, it's good. Thank you, Jeremy. I think it's really interesting. So
absolutely, I think if I'm able to navigate, then hey, it must be pretty simple, right?
Yeah. Right, and I think the last question's coming your way as well. Then we should have done 1-1-1-1, shouldn't we? Really. We had a question come in today. In fact, we had a couple of late questions come in today. I will direct. The other one was really all development, so I will answer that via an email when we come off the call. Can the home screen cues and tiles be created? Oh gosh, I definitely need a drink now. Created or amended without development. So I'll let you answer that one, Jeremy, as you're playing technical today.
I think you should go and grab yourself that glass of wine.
I definitely need it.
So can they be created or amended without development? So in order to create the cues and the tiles, we would need to have some development. But I think what I would suggest is before that, it's worth looking at the personalization to see if there are any tiles or cues that have been hidden. Because sometimes, with the systems, we start with the system, you kind of hide everything you don't need. And then I know I do forget to bring it back and say, oh, something's missing. I need to get that developed. And actually, it is there. So take a look at that personalization. Click on your cogwheel, personalize, and get that one. See if there is anything missing. Have a look at other role centers as well. Cogwheel into my settings. Let's just take a look at that as well in real time here. So up on your cogwheel. So where we would do personalize, have a look and see if there's anything hidden. I can change my settings as well. Change my role to let's just say I'm going to be a project manager today. Why not? And I'm going to select OK. That's just going to do a quick refresh, but it's going to change my role center for me, and it's going to give me a host of new cues which are relevant to the project manager. Now you can pin, as you can see here, I've got project tasks, planned and quoted projects. Now you can pin these from list pages by using the little bookmark top right hand corner when you're on a list page. But to actually get the cues and the tiles would need to be some development. So have a look at your personalization, see if there's any hidden ones. Check out the role centers. There might be some that are really relevant there. And as a final push, it would be a small development. I think we'd agree, Catherine, to add those to the customer's requirements.
Yeah, ultimately these are only filtered lists, so it shouldn't be a big expensive piece. However, sometimes you can get carried away with all those filters and you want to go down layers and layers, and obviously but as a generalization for a filtered list, I have a client who's in facilities management, and they had queues for almost like the workflow. So these are my ones, these are waiting approval, these are ones I've got to approve, these are the ones I've approved, just really so that they didn't have to go clicking around and putting filters on. So and obviously you can do save views under the filters, which is sort of like a queue but not like a queue. So yeah. We've posted in the chat as well the keyboard shortcuts for everybody, because I think they're just really useful for Business Central. So yeah, and there's probably some more ones on there that you may find useful. So that's all our questions for so far. We are scheduling our what's new, because Business Central version 26 is due out in the good old April from Microsoft. We're already seeing updates coming through now, so I expect probably next month, March, we'll get the beta for us to play with. Obviously Easter is in the middle, so we've gone for the end of the month, because a lot of people will take advantage of the 2 bank holidays and have a good long holiday for only a handful of days. So we've gone for Wednesday, the 30th of April. So if you want to just pencil that in your diaries now, so that you're ahead of the game. And then obviously we'll be sending out invites and newsletters and everything in advance of that. So thank you, Jeremy. Anything else from you?
No, I think just to say thank you for the questions in the chat. We'll get those tidied and sent out as well, just to make sure we've answered them. But thank you very much, everybody.
Absolutely.
Great chatting with you, Catherine.
Yes, and you too, Jeremy. I'll go and get that drink now.
I was going to say, I'm off to get a coffee. I'll leave you with your wine.
I definitely need something stronger. Thanks a lot.
Take care, guys. Bye now.
Bye.